Well, it's a real joy tonight to have Americans and Taiwanese Americans. And you Americans, what I'm doing tonight in front of the Taiwanese Americans would kind of like you be going to another country and then you come back and show your friends from that country their country. So it's a little dangerous. But actually, I've done this in Taiwanese churches and they haven't disagreed with me. But this is my image after 16 years of being in Taiwan. And I mentioned in the service that there are about 200 of us Presbyterian USA mission co-workers in countries around the world. Countries like South Sudan, where we have 5 missionaries working for reconciliation. In the Philippines, helping them after that typhoon. And then in Taiwan, we have 3 of us in Taiwan. Let's see if this... No, next. Steve.
Figure out.
I've seen
Like
lay
these
his
two,
hands on
that's
it
all
and
right.
start working.
Okay. So what did you just say? Okay, I'll just do it that way. Taiwan is a tropical country. I grew up in Tampa, Florida. My dad used to read the Wall Street Journal when he was alive, and he would compare the temperature in Taipei and in Tampa, and they were almost identical every day. So it's a country of beautiful skies, tropical skies. It's also just a breathtaking country with landscape. It's a volcanic country in the Pacific Ring of Fire. And this is the view that I have every Tuesday when I take the train to the East Coast to teach at a seminary there. So beautiful mountains, and that's why Hawaii, for those of you who've been to Hawaii, it's a similar geography. And because it's an island, the seafood in Taiwan is wonderful. Great seafood. This is one of my students is serving in this harbor town on the East Coast. And we were there on a Saturday afternoon when they were unloading the fish. This is where the fish come from, and this is where they end up. They end up in ice on the street in Taipei. And actually the whole fish, this isn't just the head, this is the whole fish. But you can see the varieties of fish. We have wonderful seafood in Taiwan. And beautiful flowers. It's a country of beautiful flowers. Taiwan has more people than Australia. 23 million people, and Taiwan is the size of Maryland and Delaware combined. So 23 million people, and Australia has 21 million. So it's the second densest populated country after Bangladesh. So if you don't like people, you don't want to live in Taiwan. But if you like people, it's a great place to live. And I like people, and I like the Taiwanese. The Taiwanese work hard, so they're very tired. And these were 2 guys who were redoing a shop, and it was their lunch hour, and they used their water bottles as their pillow. They had no idea that I took their picture, and they have no idea that I'm traveling around the U.S. showing their picture to everybody. But not only the people in Taiwan are tired, the animals are also tired. This is a bulldog who fell asleep in a motorcycle repair shop on the lift for the motorcycle repair shop. Now this was on the internet. This was on the New York subway last year. This is an African-American guy who fell asleep on a Jewish guy's shoulder. And they put this on the internet and they said this Jewish guy was a hero to let this guy sleep on his shoulder. And I looked at that on the internet. I was in Taiwan at the time and I said, I don't understand what's special about that. Every day in Taiwan I see people sleeping on other people's shoulders. And people often fall asleep on my shoulder and you just kind of let them sleep. But people do work hard. There's a strong work ethic in Taiwan, and therefore people really are physically tired, but they're also spiritually tired, and that's what the church has to offer. I was at the main train station in Taipei. Every Tuesday I take a train to another seminary, and these are all the young men, this was last fall, who have been drafted for the military. Every young man has to serve now a year in the military. They're going to do an all-volunteer force, but they don't have enough volunteers yet. So they keep pushing it back. These are all the parents who are crying that their sons are going off to the military. Now, the Taiwan Army, Navy, and Marines, they have women, but they enlist. They don't draft women, but women can serve in the military in Taiwan. Another important thing in Taiwan is education. And when you graduated from high school, how many characters had you memorized? How many? How many do you think? 4,000? 5,000? Yeah. Probably like 5,000 characters by the time you graduate from high school. It's not 26 ABCs. And every character is different. And the only way to learn how to write these characters is just to write and write and write. Just repetition, and then you learn to... But just like our cursive, a lot of our young people are having a hard time learning to write cursive. A lot of their young people are having a hard time with the characters because they're using the computers now instead of writing. But this is at an elementary school where a friend of mine is the principal.
That's a heck of a keyboard, though.
Well, they have phonetic symbols on the keyboard, but then they have to, because one sound can have different tones. So like the word for mother is ma, ma. The word for horse, my name in Mandarin, is ma. And the word to scold is ma. So if they type in M-A, ma, 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 they have to pick which one it is. So after they type it in, it comes up on the screen and they have to choose the character. So it's quite labor intensive, but Taiwanese are quick. Now these are kids at an internet cafe. I took this through plate glass on the street. And what I'm trying to show tonight is some of the voices that people hear in Taiwan. And this was a tragic story. There was a young man who was using one of these computers playing a video game, and he was addicted. And he never got up to go to the bathroom, and he died of toxic shock. He was there for 30 hours, never got up. He died at the computer screen. The other young men in the internet cafe were so addicted they didn't even notice that the young man had died. And when the EMT came in to take his body away, several of them didn't even look up because they were so addicted. And that's not just Taiwan, that's around the world now with these video games. But just to let you know that the church is seeking to share the good news of Jesus Christ to kids like this. Another voice is success. You know, these are kids waiting for a bus for their high school in front of the Mercedes dealership. This is near where I live in Shulin, Zhongshan Beilu and Zhongshanlu. He used to live right where I live now. His dad was the librarian at the seminary where I teach, so he knows exactly. It's a wonderful spot. Kim and Steve and Cheney had stayed there, so they know that spot too. But another voice is, you know, the brand names. The brand names, French clothes and German cars are selling the best right now in Asia. The best market for these brand names is Asia. Now this is an interesting picture. This was taken at the Jiayi night market. These two boys have no glass lenses in their glasses. They just have frames. This is the new style in Taiwan. And if you ask the kids, why are you wearing, you know, with my sense of humor, I always say to them, I can't quite read this, could I borrow your glasses? And they always say, there's no glass. And I say, why wouldn't you have glass? And they say in English, fashion. So another voice is fashion. The same that our kids hear here in America. This is an underground street between the train station and some subway station. And the Taipei City put these mirrors up so the kids can do dancing, group dancing, in front of the mirrors. And what I like about this, there are no adults leading, it's kid-led, but it's still group. Our Taiwanese friends here tonight, their family name comes first. Their individual name comes second. In America, in the West, the individual name comes first, the family name comes second. Why is that? Because in Asia, the group is more important than the individual. In the West, the individual is more important than the group. So even though they don't have teachers, they still have some kids telling them exactly how to do it. So that's part of the group. It's wonderful. Taiwan is very convenient. Doctors and dentists and haircutters open at night to accommodate the patient and the customer schedules. So this is 9 o'clock on a Friday night, Dr. Wu's dental clinic. I don't know why he has it in English unless he's expecting some foreign customers. But he's open at 9 o'clock at night. I've been giving this talk around the church, and there's some doctors and dentists in some of the groups I've been talking in, and when I say, wouldn't that be great if our doctors and dentists did it? They're all going, no, that wouldn't be great. I love, this is an eyeglass store, and what do they have in front but an eye chart? What a great advertisement for an eyeglass store. You can't read the eye chart, you go to buy some eyeglasses. Part of the beauty of living in a city the size of Taipei is the culture. This is the National Theater, and across from it is the National Concert Hall. And Taiwan gets wonderful, both international and domestic theater, concerts. And if I come here on a Friday night to watch a concert or a show, it's kind of like going on a mini vacation. You're in this beautiful concert hall or this beautiful theater. But in this big, technologically wired city, Taiwanese, like many Europeans, often like to shop daily for their food. They want the freshest food. So this is a butcher, and the Taiwanese brag that they eat the pig from nose to tail. They don't waste any part of the pig or the chicken. So a lot of American farmers, maybe from Missouri, are shipping their parts to Taiwan. And what that does is cause the price of parts to be decreased, so the Taiwanese farmers can't sell their parts for as much as they used to. So I always say, when America sneezes, the world gets a cold. Or Newton said it a different way, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So we need to think about how our actions affect others. This is a Taiwanese opera related to the temple, and they set these up on the side of the street, and they just put chairs out, and you can sit and watch a temple opera. Now, Taiwanese is about 96% non-Christian, and they call themselves Buddhists, but actually Taiwanese worship all kinds of gods. And they worship a lot of what they call folk gods. This is Matsu. Matsu was a young girl who lived in Fujian province in the south part of China, and she had a dream, and in her dream she saw her father and brother fishing in the Taiwan Strait, and there was a typhoon. So she held on to her father and her brother in this dream. This is the legend of Matsu. And then her mother called her name, and she woke up and she let go of her father, and he was drowned. She saved her brother. The legend says she went into the Taiwan Strait, 3 days later came out with her father's body. So she is the goddess of fisherfolk, and she's the most popular god in all of Taiwan. And this is on her birthday, so they have her out in front of the temple. All her followers are carrying her and worshiping her. Now, the folk gods, the big difference between the folk gods and Christianity is the folk gods were human beings who did something heroic, who were deified. We worship a god who became a human being. It's opposite. And these are members of, or employees at a bank in Taipei, and they're about twice a month they have to make offerings on auspicious days. They're required by their boss to make offerings. But if you're a Christian and you have to do this, it goes against your faith. So part of what I do in training pastors is help them think about how they can help their members navigate these challenges to being a Christian in a non-Christian land. Here's a grandfather teaching his granddaughter how to worship at the temple. And I always tell American grandparents, just like Timothy's grandmother in the Bible, you all are important. You are models of faith for your grandchildren and parents for your children. This is in a Buddhist temple. But in the midst of all these other voices is the voice of the Presbyterian Church and the Christian Church in Taiwan. This is Swanlian Presbyterian Church in the middle of Taipei. They worship up here on the 9th floor. It's a huge church. And this church has quite a ministry. They have a kindergarten, they have a senior citizen campus, kind of a retirement community. They also send mission teams to Myanmar, Burma. So it's a church in the midst of this city that's seeking to share the good news of the gospel. But I just mentioned in my sermon, remember that a village that only had one church? This isn't that village, but I go to a lot of these villages. The highest mountain in Taiwan is 14,000 feet. I mean, they're tall mountains. So this village I preached at a year ago, January, and this is the only church in town, the Presbyterian Church, but it's kind of the community center for the village. I was in this village for 3 days. One of my former students is the pastor there. He was going to take me 3 hours down the mountain to the bullet train, which I would take back to Taipei. And he said, before you go, I want to give you a gift. and he went into the freezer and he brought out something wrapped in newspaper. And I said, well, Pastor Paul, what is in here? And he said, a monkey that I shot. And, I could see, I said, well, Pastor Paul, I'm going to be on the bullet train, and I could see it begin to unthaw, and then the little hand come out of the newspaper. And I said, maybe I better not take the monkey this time. This is right next to the international airport in Taoyuan, the biggest airport in Taiwan. One of my students is a pastor there. The first floor is the sanctuary. The second floor is her house, pastor's residence. And the third floor is Sunday school. When she preaches, these jumbo jets, literally the runway is the other side. So these jumbo jets come down, and she has to stop preaching. Now, who lives right next to the international airport but Aboriginals who have had to leave their villages to find work in the cities? She's getting married next month, wanted me to do the wedding, and she's marrying a guy from a different tribe, and I just hope she won't leave this church, because